Good Friday afternoon, Seminole fans. Nole insiders Tim Lenefeld and Lane Hurt here with you on a windy Friday afternoon, kind of pushing me there towards the camera. We are less than 24 hours away from the first spring practice. Mike Norvell met with the media today. Tim, your thoughts on what Coach Norvell had to say in his press conference before spring began?
First and foremost, I think you can tell that he's ready to get going. The guy is obviously a football coach, and he's been here for, I think it's 9 weeks, and they've done some team stuff, obviously working in the weight room, out there at the tour of duty with the off-season conditioning. But, I get the sense that he's ready to get out there and do some football-type stuff, and you can look out, over our shoulder and see the fields. They look like $1 million. They got some interesting sort of subtle new things that we don't quite know what they mean just yet, but we'll find out soon enough. So I think he, like everybody, is just ready to get things going and take a big step forward to the 2020 season.
One of the things he emphasized first on was the positive weight changes that were made by the Seminoles, upwards of 630 pounds of positive weight changes. Strength coach, Coach Storms, talked to the media for the first time as well. What did you kind of glean from what the Seminoles are able to do with their offseason strength and conditioning program?
They're obviously really, really pleased with it, and I think if you go and when the updated roster is posted online, you can check it for yourself and see, a lot of guys gained a lot of muscle. Some guys lost some weight that they were looking to lose, and all told, it sounds like they were really, really pleased with it. Josh Storms, the strength coach, he's an impressive guy to me. Mike Norvell said that he believes he's the best strength coach in the country, and talking to, really, if you want to get a sense, I think, for players, how they feel about things, they'll talk about the strength and conditioning program. The players know the strength coach, a lot better than you might think. They spend a lot of time with the strength staff in that weight room, and everybody, I think, is really excited about what Josh Storms has brought to the program. One of the things we touched on to a couple different guys, including Mike Norvell, is, when you're trying, especially as a new coach, you're at a school where you're the third head coach in 4 years, fourth if you're including interim coaches. The players have been through a lot, man. They've heard a lot. They've been told to buy in, to get with the program or what have you, and so it would be easy, I think, for somebody to maybe have a hard time buying in, or maybe be a little skeptical or whatever. But I think it's so important that when you lay out your roadmap of what you want the players to do, what your expectations are, for them to get on that road with you and then quickly see results, that what you're talking about, and that if they do what you tell them to do, success is going to follow. When you can lay that foundation, it's really, really a whole lot easier to build up. So I think as somebody like Keyshawn Helton, who is coming off a knee injury, they said has gained 21 pounds of muscle, 20 pounds of muscle. Tamorian Terry, we saw him in there today. He looks like it. He's
16 pounds, I think he said.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that's huge. And then they mentioned the other way, Bavion Johnson, the center, lost 15 pounds and is looking good. Even Marvin Wilson, who's a guy we saw, they said that Marvin is only 1 pound different than he was before the start of the program, but that he's completely remade the composition of his body. And seeing him in the room today at the luncheon, he looks different. Even, we see him around all the time. You saw him in El Paso out there with the team. He looks like a different dude out there. And so to me, it's you haven't even had a practice yet, but to see the results that the guys have had in the weight room, the confidence that they've had with it, it only makes you, I think, more excited to see what they can do on the actual football field.
Like you mentioned, there were some players who were made available today, kind of the first-time players that have talked about Coach Norvell and this new staff since the beginning of the year. And I think one of the things I asked guys about was accountability. I asked Tamorian and Marvin specifically about that, the guys who decided to come back when they had options to go to the NFL. They really see a significant difference in how they're held accountable, and as they both kind of said, they really like that. Marvin said it kind of excites him to get up at 5 a.m. and he knows he's getting up because he needs to be there. Everyone's held to the same standard, and I think it's really showing a big difference right now in the Seminole football team.
Yeah, and you kind of touched on it. Look, every coach in America preaches accountability, right? Nobody's going to get up and say, we're not too worried about that. But the fact of the matter is actually doing it is a challenge, because you have to be consistent. It has to be, like you said, the same for everybody, because if the players see that the rules don't apply to somebody, then they're not going to take those rules seriously. Do you mean what you say? That's what we're talking about, right? When you get up in front of players and say, this is what you have to do you mean it? And I think it's the same kind of thing. You have a limited window to show the players or whoever that you mean the things that you say, and if you can show that is the case, then it's easy to fall in line. And if you don't, then it's really hard to get that back. And so so what we've been able to gather, I think, from these first few weeks is that players they've said themselves, man, this guy, it's clear that he's not messing around. I had 3 or 4 different players tell me that they say the same sentence, that Coach Norvell is the same every single day. He brings the exact same energy, and he expects that out of you as well. So I mean, look, I think it is a bit of an adjustment, and some guys said that it was easier for some players than others to get on board, and Mike Norvell kind of acknowledged that himself, but he said a lot of them are already there and the rest of them are coming along, and so to me that's an encouraging thing.
A couple of injury notes. Akeem Dent will miss the spring over an injury he picked up earlier this year. Hamza Nasruddin is ahead of schedule with his rehabilitation, he says, but he does not think he'll be able to participate this spring. Josh Kando doing well, hopes he can participate in some of the individual things, might be held out of some of the team things. I think one thing I heard, I talked to Coach Fuller, with the defensive coordinator, and he said regardless of if guys are healthy, if they're injured, each player will have a specific plan of something that they need to accomplish this spring, and I think that's good, especially for the injured guys, to have that specific plan, knowing exactly what's expected of them come these 15 practices.
Well, of course, first and foremost, you want to have everybody engaged, and also, you want players, certainly ones who aren't able to be full participants in practice, to feel like that they're still part of the team and that you haven't forgotten about them and they're still factoring into your plans. That's, I think, really good for everybody. So again, I'm really excited to see just what it looks like tomorrow morning. It's going to be a football practice, but we don't know exactly how it's going to be organized. We don't know, the pace, the structure, all that kind of stuff. So it's going to be a pretty intriguing morning, I think, out there.
Absolutely, Seminole fans. We'll have a lot more to talk about as Florida State kicks off spring practice on Saturday morning. We'll be there. You'll hear from Coach Mike Norvell as well as a handful of players as well. We'll try to break down some of the new things that we saw out there as the Seminoles have their first spring under Coach Norvell. That's going to wrap up things for now. For Tim, I'm Lane. Go Noles.